Alex Nimick, built in West Bay City, Michigan in 1890 by James Davidson. The Nimik came in at a length of 298 feet long. However, other sources state that she may have actually been 320 feet in overall length. At the time of her launching, she was considered the largest vessel on the lakes for her size. The Nimik had a width of 40 feet and a depth of 21 feet. She also came in at a gross tonnage of 1,968 tons, and she could carry a net tonnage of 1,632 tons. The Nimik was built for the American Transportation Company of Painesville, Ohio, and the first to captain her was Captain A.H. Reed of Bay City. The Nimik was a coal carrier, and she would be transferred from the American Transportation Company in 1891 to being sold in 1900 to the Gilchrist Transportation Company in Cleveland, Ohio. From there, she would serve, again, carrying coal across the Great Lakes. The Nimik would have a great service run for her lifetime, serving over 17 years across the Great Lakes, until September 21st, 1907. Lake Superior is notorious for having fierce westerly storms. These can occur on the surface when they are compressed into a funnel at the east end of the lake. This is just above Sault Ste. Marie. September 20th, 1907, after anchoring in the lee of Whitefish Bay for a day to ride out the storm, the Nimik, loaded down with her usual cargo of coal, would make her way out onto the open lake for her destination in Duluth. Now, September 21st, 1907, the Nimik was just 13 miles west of Whitefish Point. She would be immediately met with a fierce storm, and the waves on Lake Superior would batter her, causing devastating damage. The Nimik's steering gear would become disabled during the horrible storm out on Lake Superior. She would then be forced by the storm toward land, striking near Pictured Rocks. It was said that day out on Lake Superior, the wind and waves were of tremendous proportions. The captain aboard the Nimik was Captain John Randall, and the first mate was James Hayes. There was absolutely no saving her, and she would be pounded to pieces against the waves. Steward Thomas Parent was apparently washed overboard and lost because of the ferocity of the waves crashing over the deck. Captain Randall took charge of the Nimik only 10 days earlier, before the disaster would happen. He had formerly commanded the steamer Merrimack, but had been on leave due to poor health at the time. He would then return and was given command of the Nimik. The Nimik was also previously under the command for 2 years by Captain Frank Bertrand. As the crew fought desperately to get to the lifeboats, 2 of them were launched. After the devastation of the Alex Nimick being destroyed against the sandbar, 6 men out of 17 would lose their lives. Again, Steward Thomas Parent was washed overboard and lost. And then the boat containing Captain John Randall and first mate James Hayes, along with 4 others, one of which being Charles Cray, would be overturned in Lake Superior. 2 men would be lost, and then another 3 would make their attempt to swim to the mainland. However, only Charles Cray made the 1.5-mile swim to shore. The rest were lost. The second lifeboat that had managed to be launched was crammed tight with 10 crew members in her. She was actually a smaller lifeboat, but thankfully it did not get overturned in the lake. They eventually made it to shore and were saved. After the devastation and loss of the Nimik being destroyed by the storm, her wreck was submerged and was actually considered to be a danger to other vessels that would hug the shoreline. A buoy would be placed just outside of the wreck of the Nimik. By November, she was abandoned by the Gilchrist Transportation Company, and then steps were taken to have the remains of the Alex Nimick removed. And that is the full story of the terrible and tragic destruction of the Alex Nimick. Well, guys, what a crazy story. I mean, just intense from start to finish. So as I'm piecing this together as I go to help kind of collect the whole set of events, both for myself and you guys at the end of this video. So this must have been quite a storm that they, on September 20th, were anchored in the lee of Whitefish Point for a day. I'm more than certain they were trying to see if this storm would blow itself out, and perhaps it had lessened a bit, and that's why they decided to make their way out onto Lake Superior for Duluth. But yeah, like it was saying, just above Sault Ste. Marie, those waves, can be so choppy out there, and this must have been, like it said, a considerable just greatness of these waves and wind. Again, if you guys, I know I say this a lot, but if you guys ever make your way up to like Whitefish Point by the museum up there and say it's a bad windy day, you will see what these stories, it ain't kidding. Lake Superior gets fierce out there. So yeah, it had to have been the boat with Captain John Randall and First Mate James Hayes that where everybody was lost. I mean, the steward Thomas was washed overboard and he didn't make it. And then yeah, so I guess they tried their hardest to swim to shore, but a 1.5 mile swim to shore in terrible seas like that, and only Charles Cray made it. That's crazy, because then yeah, the other 10 guys, their lifeboat made it ashore and they were eventually rescued. But yeah, what a wild series of events for this vessel to be smashed to pieces on a sandbar next to pictured rocks over there. And then yeah, her wreck remains were eventually removed, of course, for other vessels that would probably eventually pass there. Definitely don't want to run into that, especially when they hug the shoreline during one of these storms. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Perhaps you can find other additional information, or a more I'll say maybe a more cohesive series of events in a timeline, perhaps. I mean, I did try my best to sum all. I have, at times when I make these videos, I have 3, 4, sometimes 5 sources of information I'm pulling from and trying to form a cohesive timeline of how and when these events happen. So I do try my best to paint a understandable story, but maybe you guys can have some more information that could help it along and be explained better. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so very much in joining me on this episode. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I, as always, look forward to the next story. Never gets boring, never gets old. I always look forward to each and every story that I come across and can tell and share this passion with you guys. So love you all. I hope you are doing well, and do look forward to the next episode on Songs of the Great Lakes. So until then, God bless you all.